How thick is this wall?
Very thick.
This is really cool. Today we're going to one of the largest underground bunkers of the Second World War, built in Czechoslovakia. One of the strongest points which was constructed leading up to the Czech crisis in 1938. And one surrendered intact after the Munich Agreement, which forced the Czechs to abandon their fortifications in all of the borderlands and all of Sudetenland. But as you will see, that did not protect them from shell fire. Last we visited here, we were at the amazing Museum of Czechoslovakian Fortifications in Blockhouse KS-14, just below the hill, and the completely restored pillbox somewhat up the hill. So back here in Kraliki, this time we're going to continue up the hill and down the other side and visit the central part of this defensive line, the huge pillbox on top and the tunnel system underneath. One which would play an important part in what would eventually become General Kamla's V3 program and the development of the Rushling shell. And let me tell you, this is extremely impressive for many reasons. I'm seeing some destruction going on here. I'm seeing a lot of destruction. So, there used to be a steel dome, I see.
Yes, there should be, I think, if I remember it right, 3 of them. One here, one here, one here. We have only one diamond ditch and no doors.
Yeah.
Because entrance were only one or two. One main one, the Holger is entrance, and one small one I will show you later.
So the dome was scrapped after the war.
After war, the company Covershot took them out and reused them.
So was all this German testing?
Yes, some is German testing and some is communist and some is not quite good repairs.
But here on the front, this is all testing,
Yeah.
right? And this is sort of a fix.
Yeah.
This is the close.
Yes.
Well, what is this? I mean, what is this?
There should be the gun holes,
Yeah.
but it's all covered in concrete.
Yeah.
And you see only a small
Ditch, yeah. But this is interesting because when I look at this bunker, if you go to places like Kummersdorf, where the Germans would test their artillery before and during all the wars, this is the pattern they would shoot at their artillery targets.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They would shoot them in slightly separated patterns.
Yes. You see, it's a quite small hole. It was a bigger gun. Yeah. They used bigger ones here. There is a light machine gun, another anti-tank, and I think the twin gun.
And this covers your fortress.
This covers our fortress down and the small peak.
Yeah, you can really see how well the steel was embedded. It's really steel and cement. Very, very well. Was it 2 meters thick?
They were more than 2 meters.
Yeah, it was 2, 3 at least.
Because our fortress is in defense class Roman 3 and this is Roman 4.
This was just a pillbox, and then there's tunnels connecting these with the others. The infantry block KBGS-13 is the second largest infantry block in the system of Czechoslovakian fortifications. It required 3,250 cubic meters of concrete, and pouring it was completed in just 9 days, from July 8 to 17 in 1937. This massive structure consists of 3 floors, and is accessible by a deep, more than 40-meter shaft featuring a stairwell of 222 steps and an elevator. An emergency exit also connects the block to the nearby trenches. The block was heavily armed, featuring 2 main combat compartments and multiple auxiliary embrasures, along with 4 armored cupolas. The armament included a mix of weapons, 2 heavy machine guns, Model 37, combined with 47mm anti-tank guns, Model 36, along with 4 light machine guns. The heaviest armored element ever used in the defensive line up that time was the 65.5-ton cupola installed to protect the heavy twin machine gun. For fire control, the installation also included an artillery observation cupola built into the roof as well. It had a crew of 37 soldiers. And during the German occupation, the block served as a target for military testing. specifically of the Czechoslovakian casemate gun Model 36. This left clear marks, as you can see, also from the 47mm anti-tank gun shells, later tested using heavy artillery, which included the Rushling shell, and several damaged embrasures on the right side of the block here.
Concrete, and under it is a 80-meter hole.
Why? Was there a dome here?
Actually, this dome, it wasn't there. It was only a hole because they didn't make the gun on time, and the Germans were quick.
Okay, it was never. Okay, I get you.
Look at these small domes for ventilation.
Ventilation. So this was a huge cannon.
Yes. And you can see here the round hill up in the background. It's Krajský Sněžník, and it's third the highest mountain in Czech Republic. This is how it should look like. It's quite similar to Belgium, and it's only a dome covered.
Oh, this is one of the classic French domes, yeah.
This is the fortified block KBG S-12. It was designed as one of the most effective and important combat installations of the entire Czechoslovakian line. Its primary feature was a retractable rotating gun turret, as we would see in Belgium and France. The block's foundation involved a spacious shaft built of 2 floors reaching a depth of 11 meters, which housed the turret armored parts. The installation itself contained the ammunition dump, M3, preparation room, filter room, readiness room, airtight cartridge chamber, and sanitary facilities. It required a crew of 56 soldiers to operate. The construction took only 8 days in 1938, using 2,620 cubic meters of concrete. The turret itself had a total weight of more than 440 tons. The retractable armored section weighed 120 tons on its own, balanced by a 120-ton counterweight. The turret's armor was made of high-quality materials, including plating and steel cast, providing protection against even the heaviest of shelling, as we've seen in the surviving turrets in France. The turret was armed with 2 10-centimeter howitzers, Model 38. These guns were highly effective, with a firing range of almost 20,000 meters and a firing rate of 15 to 20 rounds per minute for each gun. The rotation speed of the electric turret was impressive too. It would complete a full 360-degree rotation in just 1 minute, and the entire turret could emerge from the shaft in 9 seconds. The turret's strategic precision allowed it to dominate the entire valley. This turret would have dominated an area of 448 square kilometers. Take that.
Artillery fortification, yeah.
Yes. So what is that, ventilation or?
Maybe it is an exit, but it is closed.
Yeah, I was just wondering. And this is German testing then?
This is German testing, but I want to show you the other side where you can see the Rechlings. This is part of the testing with Typhoon, the fighting gas, the explode gas. This gas cracked the hole of the bunker. You can see it.
Oh, yes.
It's all cracked.
This was from the gas.
Yes.
When you say gas and Typhoon it was an anti-aircraft missile.
I think also.
So it is something else as well. So
Here's one of Rechlings.
this. Well, it didn't get very far. How thick is this wall?
Very thick, but I don't remember the numbers. It is written down on that table. You see, it's quite destroyed.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, so this was regular fire.
Regular fire and gas.
This was regular artillery fire?
Maybe the Rechlings, and you can see here the crack. All the bunker is cracked.
Yeah.
It's quite straight.
This must have been something bigger.
They have ship cannons. They had ship cannons here. So.
Wow. They really did knock themselves out, literally. There's another one. The problem with giving up your fortifications is when other people started using them for lunch.
Yes. Don't shoot, maybe don't shoot all and there are like 40 of them. So.
Wow. This is really something else to see how the testing just frayed the side of this bunker. But what's interesting is they didn't actually penetrate all of them.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I mean, it's not like let's shoot at every part of this bunker, shall we?
Yep.
Holy cow. Wow. I'll keep that alone, yeah. But it's just amazing that these still, I mean, that they're still sitting here and they didn't actually penetrate. What's amazing is that I'm not going to come up here tonight and try to hack one out and bring home as a souvenir. This is a smaller.
You won't, I try it.
This is smaller. This is a smaller diameter than the one sitting in your bunker.
It's quite similar, I think.
You think? I think that's
it should be similar.
The one in your fort just looks like it's smaller than bigger than this. I might be wrong.
In this I am correct. The Rushling shell was tested in various calibers, munitions, and powder variations.
Where the dome was.
Yes.
That was scrapped.
Yes.
Shame, shame, shame. Well, when you're presented with multiple opportunities to shoot at, I guess you just pick all of them.
This is the museum. All of the bunkers are connected with tunnels, and the exposition is in the tunnels.
Oh.
It's like whole barracks. Kind like redo.
Is that a Rushling or is that a ventilation pipe? The black one.
What, here?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. It should be periscope, I think. Maybe. You see the crack?
That's the crack. So the whole damn thing just split down the middle.
Yes.
Wow. It's scary, but also damage and decay is sort of...
It is something that happened, and it's still here.
This is the artillery block, as you have guessed from the other name I called it, pincushion. KBGS-11. This represents the biggest combat installation which was ever built in the entire Czechoslovakian fortification system. It's 48 meters long, 15.3 meters wide, and 12 meters high. The construction was placed between September 6th and October 4, 1937, using 5,350 cubic meters of cement. The block was conceived as a one-sided casemate for one main gun battery, designed to protect the defensive line by delivering indirect flanking fire. Its field of fire covered the concentration areas of the opposing forces and the adjacent major fortifications, Buda, Adam, and Adams Hill, which were considered the main targets of its artillery fire control. And inside, the gun battery compartment was separated from the munition storage, of course, and from the infantry protecting wing in the stairwell and an elevator shaft. The infantry wing included 2 armored cupolas with 2 upper stations and was armed with 3 gun compartments and ammunition dumps as well. The artillery installation contained an additional exit, a filter chamber, an operations room, and 3 light airtight cartridge chambers under the guns. The main armament consisted of 3 casemate howitzers of 10 cm Model 38. Block also featured 2 infantry cupolas that was manned by a substantial crew of 87 soldiers. The required ammunition here was 12,000 shells and 90,000 rounds of machine gun ammunition, and hundreds of hand grenades and signal rockets. There's roughly 50 meters below the surface was the storage magazine M2, consisting of 3 large rooms, with the southernmost room connected to the installation's tunnels, while the third room served as the main operations center for fire control, radio, and telephone connections. This casemate was, as you may have noticed, the test bed for the Rushling shell, striking the heavily armored casemate over 210 millimeters deep. The shells varied in sizes and were fired in large volumes, as you may have noticed, and some of them penetrated up to 350 centimeters into the wall.
So the whole string of the big forts are tied together with these little pillboxes. So this is another little pillbox.
And then there is another small down here under the trees. we can see rests of barracks in a old working camp from Nazi era. There was a working camp, a working factory in Fortress Hurka behind us. So here was the barracks, and we can still see some rest of it.
What were they producing?
They're producing motors, I think 2 planes.
So this was this forced laborers, a concentration camp, or volunteers?
It's for forced laborers.
I can see a foundation here.
Yeah, here, on this side, you can see that.
Oh yes. So these were wooden barracks with a cement foundation?
Yes.
So these were skilled laborers because they were making engines, I assume?
Yes. Only those involuntary workers.
Involuntary?
Involuntary.
As we know, during the war, the Third Reich was utilizing the labor of prisoners of war, concentration camp inmates, as well as people from the occupied countries, as they were facing a permanent lack of manpower. They were forcing them into labor, and here many of these workers were employed in farming and railway construction, also recycling raw materials from the dismantled Czechoslovakian fortifications, and of course within the armament industry. So here was to be a relocation. This involved installing factories in the existing underground tunnel system of the solid Hurka or Berghöhe artillery fortification hill. From November 44 and onwards, this location began the setup of the labor camp under the code name Famö Gurlich, serving as an outlier camp of the Großrosen concentration camp for the company Famö, who produced goods for the German army, including parts for heavy half-tractors. Installing machine tools and machinery began in the tunnels in 1944. The prisoners were planned to be housed in barracks after their completion, but in the chaos of the last month of the war, the whole construction and production plans remained incomplete. The labor camp was ultimately dissolved in 1945, and the Red Army carted out all the machinery that they had liberated in the underground tunnels. And now it's time to go back inside and underground. And if you blink twice, you may think you are back in France in the Maginot Line fortress. However, you're really not. Just trust me on that.
I've done a few of the Czech forts.
Okay.
But let's talk about yours. So this is the rear entrance.
Yes.
Ever so slightly inspired by the French.
Yeah, exactly.
Because some experts from the Maginot Line, were helping with building of these forts. In Czechoslovakia in 1930s. In the beginning, I want to make sure that I'm not, I was not preparing this speech, so I'm sorry for my accent,
I love your accent.
Yeah,
Do you have any idea how bad this would be if we had this conversation in Czech? So this is the entrance for...
Yes, but basically this is the entrance to Holy Artillery Fort, which was built from 1936 to 1938. So let's go inside.
Oh my God, this is just like being in France. I spent a lot of time in crawling through French Maginot Line ouvrages. That's what I expect to see when I walk through them.
Because the Czechoslovakian forts arrived exactly right from the Maginot Line, but there's some slight changes. Okay, welcome to the artillery fort, Hurka. Hurka in Czech means basically a small hill, okay, in English is the literal translation. And right here you can see the so-called Czechoslovakian Republic. In, the Czech background, this time of the history from 1918 to 1938 was called First Republic, First Czechoslovakian Republic. And the interesting thing here you can see are these red and black lines, which basically show the light and heavy fortifications. These light fortifications were small bunkers like this and this. These are type 37 bunkers, which are typically Czechoslovakian, so not from the Maginot Line, but only from our Czechoslovakian fortifications. And these black lines are the heavy fortifications, in which these, really big bunkers were built. Interesting thing about these bunkers is that they had only one entrance, one exit from the rear, you know, because so the enemy couldn't shoot at the soldiers, which he needed to supply every bunker. Also, these so-called artillery forts or fortifications were built. As you can see, that Hurka, I can say Hurka.
Yeah.
Hurka has 5 bunkers. These 4 are supposed to be literally fighting the enemy. These 2, we will call them infantry bunkers, very close to the line, to the enemy, you know, to the national border. This one is the artillery turret, which is also retractable, and it can turn around in 360 degrees. And this is another artillery bunker, and inside there's supposed to be like 3 howitzers, 100 millimeters. And the 5th bunker is right here, and in this bunker we are right now. So this is called the entrance bunker, because every soldier, every ammo, every supply that was needed for the fort was supplied right through here, through this entrance bunker, because any of the bunkers didn't have any entrance, official entrance. These 3 bunkers had only emergency exits. Right here was supposed to be like steel gate, and its weight was like 20 tons. But everything that is right here, you can see these wooden doors. They were not supposed to be here. So the only thing that remains from the First Republic is the iron frame, you know. And the 3rd barrier is this gate. Every wing, we will call it wing, weighs 4 tons, and it was supposed to be closed by 4 soldiers each wing. And this place right here is interesting, because the trucks that were supplying before were supposed to go right here, right in. In the 1930s it will be trucks named Praga W3, and they were supposed to store the ammunition and everything that was needed onto these carts that were going on these railways.
So this was to pull the wagons up and down?
Yeah, exactly, both of them. But this is not the original from the Czechoslovakia, like from the 1918 to 1938, the First Republic. But this is the after war in the era of communism.
So was this used after the Second World War by the communists?
Yeah. Because in this whole underground, the Czechoslovakian, People's Army, after the Second World War, had like ammunition storage for some artillery ammunition inside this whole underground. And the interesting thing you can see are these railways, because in the times of 1930s, the First Republic, the railways were ending right here. Mm-hmm. So the railways you can see from there, after these pillars and the little ramp that was outside. This is all built in the 1950s by the Czechoslovakian Army. So this is the original card.
I was in a very large National Line fort a couple of weeks ago, abandoned, where we had the ramp as well, where for the wheels it's. I love how you always say that this was like the National Line, just better.
Yeah.
This was for the soldiers and for supplies so the soldiers had barracks underground.
Because this is the only official entrance was supposed, every soldier that was serving, even at the end, at the last before the bunker, was supposed to go from here, only from here.
This is a very hard walk, I'm just saying.
Yeah, because
if the steps were just a little bigger, I could make this flow, but... I love when you're underground and you hear the sound of running water. It always freaks me the fuck out. Especially when you're in an abandoned fort and you hear running water. It's very freaky.
like it's a cave.
Yeah, oh god, yeah, no kidding. I spend more time underground than above ground doing this.
What you can hear me running is, obvious, because under the floor is going to, like sewage, like 20 meters under the soil.
So you have ventilation, electricity.
Yes, but everything is, cold water.
Yeah.
Nothing is original.
I mean, the tunnel was original. I mean, the
First,
first. Yeah.
except for the electricity.
So what did they do with it during the Cold War?
Well, this was serving as the artillery, the storage for artillery ammunition.
So hard to not see this and not think France.
Yeah. So we are quite familiar with this.
Yeah. So this is a similar type thing to the Struckmann, just this is finished.
Yeah, because Hurka is one of the fifth of the forts that was, fully built in 1938. And these forts are called Hurka, Bouda, Adam, Anička, Smolkov. These 5 forts were completely built. Well, we can make it to the right, to the end of the room.
To the what?
After you.
Thank you.
So basically, the same mission plan, a main filter room, but everything you can see here is not original. It was built in 1940.
That's 1940.
Yeah, it's formation line.
This is Maginot Line.
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Formation line. Yeah, exactly. Pillars formation line.
Okay.
Built in 1940. The bizarre thing was that these pillars were supposed to be here in 1938, but none of them were here in the September of 1938 because the Munich agreement came and we had to withdraw from all our fortifications at the borders because of the Nazi Germany, Great Britain, France, and so on. Interesting thing you can see is like this lever because the filtration rooms in the First Republic, 1930s, were supposed to be, of course, on electricity, and in the Cold War era, even on the electricity. But if the electricity was, cut, then the soldier that came right here to this lever, turn it and turn it and turn it until he will die. So, main engine room, everything.
Are these Czech or the old German? The steel bands for rolling, that was very...
The room is from First Republic, but yeah, these engines are, how they call it, are from Cold War era. But he was supposed to be stationed, like the mechanics for the engine room.
Yeah. So aggregate, that's the same thing you use in Czech?
Yeah. But I suppose it is something for the electricity. So this was all for the cisterns, for the oil,
This.
fuel, and for the water. Everything for the generators as it is well.
And this is the railway station.
Yeah, railway station, the ammunition at a big point. And this specific hall is supposed to be storage ammunition 100 millimeters for the artillery turret, which was supposed to be on this port. 6,000 rounds of ammunition. That's a half for this weapon.
So was here supposed to be a rail or something so you can unload and lift?
Everything that will be, unloading this right here. That is unloading point. And then there will be let's say 2 walls, 2 thick walls, one here and one right here. One entrance and second entrance. So if the ammunition exploded, it would just explode into these walls.
So during the Cold War those walls were removed?
Yeah.
That makes sense. I was wondering why they were... So they would wheel it in on small carts?
Yeah.
Not like in France you would put everything in rails?
The number means in which it was introduced to the army, exactly as the army in France. Heavy machine gun type 37, standard rifle type 24. This above, up in the right, is the prototype. It is like a submachine gun type 38, which was a prototype that was supposed to be delivered to our fortifications, but the Munich agreement came. And then you can see these 2 soldiers from the First Republic army. They have collars with a head of dog, which means that these soldiers were the little literal translation would be Rangers. Basically the same elite unit as in the French Maginot Line, because in the heavy fortifications only these soldiers, these Rangers, were supposed, to defend our Czechoslovakian Republic in the heavy fortifications, because these guys were specially trained to use, the artillery force weapons, the 100mm howitzers, and everything that was inside. And the interesting thing was that these soldiers were only of Czechoslovakian nationality. Only Czechoslovakian, citizens, and that means no Germans, no Hungarians, no Poles, and so on, because there was really a big danger that if the German in our country would come into the heavy fortification, then he could spy on the Czechoslovakia.
Of course. But it was not exactly the same in France, because in France they didn't have the elite troops in the bunkers. They had the old guys, the reservists, and because after the First World War, the French lost so many men that the whole concept behind French fortification building was they needed a way to defend France with fewer soldiers, because they didn't have that many, and again with fewer relatively untrained reservists was the whole concept.
They were supposed to be really elite because they needed to buy time for the main forces of our Czechoslovakian army, to mobilize, one thing, and another thing to withhold the enemy forces for as long as they could, because they needed to buy time to the friends that will come, as a military ally to help to Czechoslovakia. In theory. Named after the company in Germany that was, manufacturing them. And right here in these photos, you can see how one of our bunkers, the artillery bunker, ended after German firing tests.
Yes, I've been upstairs. I saw. That's like a very. It's actually equal. Is this the only powder case for that whole gun or that whole projectile?
Well, I think it was, because as you can see it had like these how do you call it? These around the round.
It's like in the south. That's
like rings.
Yeah,
like circles. Exactly.
Yeah.
They were supposed, to hold this round in this ordinary field gun, so it can be fired.
Yeah, this was a non-calibrated round.
Yeah, exactly.
And it would also have to fit, but it's amazing that you didn't need any more powder than this to get this whole thing. Oh, wait a minute, this is powder as well, isn't it? No, wait a minute.
Well,
it's a solid shot.
It's a solid shot. Inside is, of course, explosives.
It's a solid shot
and
with fins.
Here, as you can see, after it was fired, the thing would just, drop off.
Yeah.
And these wings, would.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in Belgium, in Fort Aubin, where they tested a lot of these, and they fired them at a underground wash 30 meters down. They would penetrate all the way through the soil, through the reinforced walls, and still explode. It was a real thing. And that's why I was trying to find out where in combat these were used.
Never.
That's exactly it. It's like you had something like this, and you had it from 41, 42, and you never fucking used it. But then again, the Germans didn't have any use for a bunker busting bomb, because they were the ones in bunkers.
Because they destroyed all the fortifications otherwise, they had other means, other methods. This is the original, original round rectangle taken from the walls of this KS9, KS11, bunker. And even nowadays, you can find parts of these rounds in the walls. Everything from the German firing test in 1938 and 39.
And this is the original. That's the original case. Brilliant.
Well, I think a year ago I had some guys from France, right here. And the problem is that we don't have any audio guides.
In French.
In France they have some audio guides, maybe in English or something.
Yeah, not really.
So
But
basically we don't have audio guides in any language, you know. So I was just singing some things in English, and they were saying, you know, hey, I recognize this is from the original line, yeah. So everything's the same, you know, the tunnels,
it's
so-called main gallery, you know,
yeah.
this is the same, everything's the
I
same.
mean, if you ever go through my channel, you'll see an ungodly amount of National Line forts.
Yeah.
Also completely restored with everything functional. Which, the nice thing about the National Line forts, or the World War I fortresses, is that they haven't really been destroyed. Because the French took care of them afterwards. And even if the military didn't take them over, sometimes the military took a lot of these over for the Cold War and for NATO for a while. But even if they didn't, they weren't destroyed. Like in Poland, here, the metal was destroyed, everything was destroyed, Atlantic Wall destroyed. In France, they took it, it was French bunkers on French soil, so they protected them. Of course, there's also really cool Prussian forts in France that are, some of them are in pretty good shape. Actually, some of them are very good shape. Have you guys ever been out there?
Not yet. Not yet.
Well, when you go, you need to let me know, because having done this for so many years, I know a lot of people who has the curators, the people with the keys, put it that way. And I have a lot of people on chats and live talks from different museums that are now talking to each other and exchanging information and ideas.
That is nice.
And every time I go to a place, I always get the story, oh, we really need one of these. Like, okay. And then next year, I go to a place and say, oh, we have 2 or 3 of these, but we really need one of these. Like, okay. And then I'll try to go back to them. Well, I have someone, they have one, they'll trade you, but what they need is this thing. You're like, oh, we have 2 of those. So that's kind of the fun part, is when you start getting these people talking to each other and they start exchanging bits and pieces. It gets a little complicated when people start telling me, well, we really need a Sherman tank here to make the fort look good. I'm like, yeah, okay. Like pushing it a little bit, are you? I'll see what I can do. What the fuck was it? What is it, the fort in the east? Like, oh, we really need some 1850 24-pounder artillery guns. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you do. Let me see if I can find any for you. Let me make some calls. Just like, tunnels look so good.
Well, do you want to see the emergency exit?
The emergency exit? Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Oh, yeah. Now, I will tell you, I have found... This actually looks really good. Really? Thank you.
I believe it is, I would say, 35 meters, you know, long. And then there's this curve, you know, and another shaft in which these stones are supposed to do.
This is really cool. So did you ever climb up it?
No. It is strictly forbidden. I think someone would just die, you know, on these steps.
Oh, come on, where's your sense of adventure? So these are the barracks in here.
Exactly. It's 5 walls. There's supposed to be barracks for loaded soldiers. Right, it was supposed to be storage of like clothes, you know, from like clothes that were poisoned, you know, or from the blood, and they were supposed to be destroyed. So they were storage.
Very optimistic. Very important. There was always a bath in the hospital in the National Lines.
Everything right here is hospital.
pretty big for a hospital. So was it sealed up on that end?
Yeah, right here, something, right here it was sealed, you know, but the thick was not only, you know, one brick, like in thick, one brick thick, it was like, you know, this side and up. It was completely sealed, and it would ensure that the hospital would be, you know, airtight, or that any noise wouldn't come out of the hospital, you know, so, because it would only demoralize other soldiers.
Yeah. So what was on the other side?
Right here, you can see.
Oh yes, I can.
12 toilets in total. To every visitors here, I say that these toilets were really special because they were, you know, flushable toilets.
Yeah.
And someone, you know, sometimes is really surprised that, wow, why is it just a big thing, you know? We have all flushable toilets. But in 1938,
That was a big deal.
So, storage of food.
So in the peacetime, you would get the food from the city, all the forts.
Yeah,
And at wartime, you would.
yeah.
Yeah.
The fort was encircled by the enemy or something like that. And they would need to eat, you know, conserved food.
Okay, so 480 soldiers in the fort and 80 outside.
Yeah. They, you know, destroyed. These were the toilets for the officers, because these, as you know, all the room was supposed to be for the officers and the commander.
During the Second World War, the Germans.
Yeah, the Germans had some prisoners, and Germans were constructing some parts of the aircraft engines. Yeah, thank you, engines for the Germans. I believe the panoramic map is
Yes.
also in French.
Yeah, yes, they did. They absolutely did. I see them.
Yeah.
Was it about a meter and a half? And this was the same caliber as the rifle ammunition.
Exactly. Normal doors just wouldn't go in.
Those are the fun
This
ones.
is the like special door in which you know, we need to pay some money.
Fine, I'll pay you some more money later. It's like.
So you can see it.
Yep. And you got one of the carts.
Yeah, this was the original card.
Acceptable turn. The munition store.
These two were supposed to be for ammunition first, and the third was supposed to be for the commander of the bunker. Right here, you know, you should normally easily just pass through it, but in the, you know, Cold War, they made this concrete right here because the wall just could collapse on someone.
Oh.
And we will go around, and I can show you from the other side.
If this was a munition store and it would explode, then it would be funneled that way and not up and down the hallways.
Yeah, but ammunition to the elevators. This is right here the fort from the Belgian. Really now. And because, as you can see right here, it will collapse on someone. Because the Germans, as they were, you know, making some fire tests, they also tried a special weapon, which was called the gas. Yeah, gas named Typhoon. In 1930s, as the Germans came to our fortifications, they were trying the so-called gas named Typhoon, and they, you know, pushed the gas from up there, from the artillery bunker, and it was heavier than the air. It was, you know, everywhere, and the gas Typhoon dropped right here to the underground, and then they would ignite it, and it would explode. So the aftermath you can see right here of the gas. And the interesting thing is that the concrete, that the concrete on the ceiling of the bunker that is above us, in the time of the explosion did this and dropped itself back in. So as you can see,
So
the gas was really powerful.
So Typhoon, this was an air-fuel bomb mixture. This was air fuel, wasn't it? Was this the powdered coal and gas?
Yeah.
They also talked about the Germans used this in the Battle of Sevastopol. Do you know when they tested this here?
Well, I think it was in 1938 or
Oh, it was
1939.
It was before the war.
I think it was before the war, yes.
That's the first time I've seen that tested in a place. That's really interesting. Oh.
This shaft has, I believe, 51 meters.
Huh. Now, this is not the thing that troubles me the most. What troubles me the most is right next to here is a staircase that I'm about to walk up from because I volunteered for it. I'm an idiot, and here we go.
I believe that the soldiers were supposed to make it for this in 2 minutes.
The elevator. On the elevator shaft. So the elevator was here. It was installed. So, see a lot of shrapnel here.
Remember, this is all from the German tests.
Yeah.
This comes also after the Rushling tests and after the explosion of the gas.
Oh, there's nice. Yes. Yeah. But this is under the guns.
Yeah.
This is where yeah. So this is the same shape as the diamond ditch outside, isn't it?
Not exactly, because this is, well, kinda, yes.
But this is the outside, this is the wall to the outside diamond ditch. And this is a technical tunnel?
Yes, I believe this is for the filtration. All the, you know, poison gas would go right out. Just imagine like the zip goes right into, you know, the...
Yeah, this is the outside. And this is where the dome is? The dome is way up here?
It should be the room under the dome.
Yeah. And close defensive. Oh, so that's actually part of the wall that fell in.
Yes.
Right.
Just last few stairs.
There's never just a few last stairs. There's always more stairs.
Well, everybody hardened from the original time.
Hey, people were tougher back then. Today, you put this in a fort, every soldier goes, "Where's the elevator?" Wow. There it is.
That's picture from the factory. It was manufacturing these howitzers. Every damage you can see here is caused by the airplanes or by. I just have a small like English language question. How do you call like in English like these holes, you know, in which not only these howitzers but also the machine guns were supposed to fire? Do you call them, you know, like firing holes or
Embrasures? Well, this is an embrasure with a firing port.
firing port?
Yeah, or a gun port.
Yeah.
This is all installation for the can. Were these electrical or mechanical?
I think that they are mechanical.
Yeah. The wall is pregnant.
Yeah.
This is what you don't want to come home to.
Well, in which month do you think it is?
We're looking at 6 months at least.
I would say.
We're saying at the point where get married, you're fucked. Or actually, you've been fucked. Never mind. I love the little strips that are just hanging here and there.
Here you can see that Germans shot through with the Rushling, you know, with the anti-concrete ammunition. This here says that here was supposed to be stationed the second howitzer of 100mm type 38 with range of 12 kilometers and rate of fire 15 to 20 rounds per minute.
Okay, all right. I was wondering because all the signs. So they didn't all penetrate, but they. But everything inside would be. I mean, you'd be having a bad day if you were in here. I was going to say nothing to write home about, but if you ever were in here, you probably wouldn't be writing home ever.
Sadly, yes.
But so the ones that hit the metal didn't go through.
Mm-hmm. So that was exactly the point why you can see these like steel, I don't know how do you call it, like steel plates on the ceiling.
Yeah.
Because of the concrete that would damage the guns or.
I mean, flying pieces of cement is not exactly good for your health either. Actually, flying pieces of anything, that speed is really bad for you. If somebody fires a piece of chewing gum at you at 2,000 meters a second, it's still going to hurt. It's amazing, and they shot at it from both sides. This is like that's all. It's almost funny that you usually shoot at a target.
Yeah, this is where the Germans made like 3.3 meters, you know, because this whole like wall had thickness of 3.5 meters of reinforced concrete, but they made it 3 meters and 30 centimeters. So only last, you know, shot.
It almost made it.
Yeah. But you know, if they were shooting from the right side, they would need to shoot from the most thick wall that was, you know, on the bunker, 3.5 meters. And of course, on this side to the enemy, there was, you know, these stones and dirt and everything that they needed to shoot through also.
This is close defensive of the ditch with the grenade launch.
Yeah, for the periscope and for the grenade slide.
And there was supposed to be a gun here that didn't come, or what happened here?
Well,
I mean,
I think Germans wanted to. Yeah, but it was shot at not from Rushlings, but from 210 millimeters like ammunition.
from that thing.
Yeah, from this thing.
Wasn't here supposed to be a embrasure for the gun?
No, there was only the wall, and it was supposed to be, you know, water for the cooling of the guns.
For the water tanks, okay.
Yeah, water tanks. So there was supposed to be like gun room for the light machine gun that was covering the emergency exit on the other side of this bunker.
Oh, this was, yeah, for the other dome that's no longer here. This was installed, right? Oops.
Yeah, everything here was installed, even the bell, everything was on its place, except for the howitzers.
See, at least here no water is dripping on us. So 50 meters?
Yeah, 51 meters.
So I have an idea that this is what the punishment was if ever you screwed up around here. Let's have a talk about the Rushling shell. It was specialized sub-caliber bunker-busting artillery munition developed by the German military during the Second World War. It was designed by engineer August Cohendas, based on the theory of maximizing selectional density for improved penetration. And it worked. The shell was made from chrome vanadium steel and resembled a fin-stabilized dart or arrow shell. The earliest version used discarding flange, as we've seen, as a driving band instead of fins for stabilization. The primary strength of the Rushling shell was its incredible penetrating power. It was capable of passing through more than 4 meters of reinforced concrete. Some accounts suggest it would penetrate 36 meters of earth and then 3 meters of concrete and a layer of broken stone into a gun casemate, and then bury the shell in the floor beneath, all with a single shot. And as you remember from our visit to Auban in Belgium, we have seen that that is indeed the case, where shells made it through 30 plus meters of dirt, reinforced cement, and made it into the interior of the underground barracks, where some would explode and some were just hardened shells. And as a testament to just how advanced this weapon was, it must be seen that prior to the Gulf War, American specialists again visited Fort Auban to research it further. The developments began around 1940, with testing conducted in 42 and 43. They were developed specifically for very large howitzers, such as the 21 centimeter Mercer 18, the captured French 34 centimeter railway gun, and the 35.5 centimeter howitzer M1. Approximately 6,000 of the large shells were produced, although some sources cite up to 8,000. The shells initially suffered from a low muzzle velocity. They're large and heavy and needed more powder, and a resulting high dispersion rate of times up to 36 meters at just ranges of 1,000 meters. That's a lot. The Rushling shell was regarded as a German secret weapon. Speculation suggested its limited use was partly due to the high level of authorization required from Hitler directly, and the fear of a dud shell being recovered and exploited by the Allied forces. But the Rushling shell was only the beginning. It served as the foundation for future German high-velocity penetrating munitions. Its design was passed on to the scientists at Peenemünde, where it influenced the development of the arrow shell, PPG, which was later fired from the bored-out 28 centimeter K5 railway gun. And then the Rushling shell was used as the basis for the shell used in the V3 cannon. The transition from the Rushling shell to the shell used in the V3 cannon was an evolution driven by the search for higher velocity and longer range, with August Cohendas being a central link between the two projects. The design evolved into the Peenemünde Pfeilgeschoss, PPG, an arrow shell. This was fin-stabilized, high-velocity, sub-caliber shell intended for ultra-long-range artillery. The goal at Peenemünde was to achieve extremely high velocities, which required a projectile optimized for low drag, hence the fin-stabilized arrow-like shape. The V3 cannon, codenamed Hochdruckpumpe, high-pressure pump, was a multi-chamber gun designed for extreme range. Cohendas, the original developer, became the chief engineer of Rushling Stahlwerk AG and was the driving force between and behind the Hochdruckpumpe and the V3, starting in 1942. The V3 would fire at a smooth-bore fin-stabilized shell, relying on aerodynamic forces for stability rather than the spin imparted by a rifle barrel. This was essential for a multi-charge system which would have been compromised by the high rotation friction of conventional rifling. And of course, SS Obergruppenführer Dr. Inget Hans Kammler was given control over all V weapons, 1, 2, and the V3. The Kammlerstab was Kammler's staff or command structure, which gave him unparalleled centralization control over development, testing, and production. Kammler was responsible for integrating the various weapons programs, speeding up the construction, and managing the development and deployment of these weapons. And now, one of the ballistic geniuses of the Second World War, Germany, was working with him. You saw the huge underground installation we visited at Mimiec in France. However, this was bombed before it could be put into use. However, that was not the end of the V3 either. Under Kammler's direct oversight as part of the overall V weapons program, his mandate was to prioritize and deliver Hitler's reprisal devices, which the V3 was classified as. And his involvement was critical for providing the necessary resources, the labor, and the bureaucratic muscle to rapidly construct the immense V3 sites, and there were multiple. I have prior taken you to quite a few of them. We saw the site at Damphaten, where the V3 was fired from against US troops in Belgium. The shell used by the V3 cannon was a direct descendant from the projectile design that August Cohenders had pioneered by the Rushling shell. I have recently visited the special testing sites where the last of Kammler's V3 bunkers still stands intact, and I will show you these as we will go over the development of the V3 in more detail. But this place was an important stepping stone in the development of a weapon system we still see fielded in various forms today, even if it unfortunately makes the poor bunker on top look a bit like a pincushion. It's definitely worth a visit. Consider subscribing to my channel, liking, follows, and maybe even join me on Patreon to help out. I am just a guy, a historian, traveling around all these historic places in Europe on my own dime, trying to bring them to you.